What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hive the Prometheus. Happy Monday. If you're enjoying the day off on JFK Junior Day, maybe you can spend some time with me checking out some list reviews here. Today, we're going to be going over some assimilation lists. If you are interested in the top placing Tyranid list of the weekend, I want to congratulate my teammate Matt Evans for going 16th place at LVO, making the top cut, and sadly losing that first round against Josh Roberts' Space Marines with Assimilation Swarm. Additionally, I also want to congratulate my other teammate Ben Neal for going second at LVO, playing Space Marines. The Denver Mountain Trolls did a great job representing this year, and the goal next year is hopefully to get 2 of the Denver Mountain Trolls players into the finals. So congratulations to them, and then we're going to go ahead and roll into the list reviews here. So looking at the first list here, we have a list that is written by Michael Del Toro. He is another prominent Assimilation Swarm specialist in the Tyranid community. He's going with a couple lists that he's testing out that are very off meta right now. So here we have a Broodlord and a Neurotyrant. The Broodlord actually does have the Instinctive Defense enhancement, and the Neurotyrant has the Biophagic Flow enhancement. That's why they're both 15 and 10 points higher, respectively. I should have put that in there. But Old One-Eye is base. We have Turvagon base with Crushing Claws. The Turvagon is the Warlord. It's going to be leading that 20-man squad of Termagants. You have a 10-man squad of Hormagants to go out and capture objectives and screen a little bit. We have a singular Carnifex, just as a little extra bully that also could potentially heal. It's a cheap action monkey. It offers a little extra toughness. On denser style maps, I think Assimilation Swarm lends itself to be pretty good. We have a 5-man Steel. In this case, we have a 5-man squad of Gene Stealers to go with that Instinctive Defense Broodlord instead of a squad of 10. We just need some extra points here in the list. We have a Harspex as a Harvester. It's tough, it can heal, it can get that 4-up Feel No Pain on an objective, or a 5-up Feel No Pain anywhere on the field with a Blade of Carapace. We have 1 Lictor as an action monkey. We have 2 Psychophages, which are also Harvesters and are pretty tough to shift. Potentially the Psychophage and the Carnifex can go off to 1 objective on your safe side and hold that down while the rest of the list kind of focuses on going and harassing the other objectives and your enemies. We have 2 Ripper Swarms, which are small. Now you can keep them off objectives to heal anything behind them as long as they're within 6, or within 9 if they're within the 12-inch aura range of the Biophagic Flow Neurotyrant. We do have a Sporocyst here, specifically because when you use the Sporocyst ability to spawn mines, upon the Sporocyst mine exploding, you can use Reclaim Biomass to heal things in the area within 6 as long as there's a Harvester. We have a Tyranid with a Rupture Cannon just for a little extra anti-tank. We do have a 6-man squad of Tyrant Guard. I don't think they're being led. No, they are being led by the Neurotyrant. They would go with the Neurotyrant to get that +1 to hit. There's a squad of Venthropes to help out those Termagants. So between the Termagants getting -1 hit and counting as in cover, and the 6-up Feel No Pain from the Psychophage, the heal from the Termagon and the heal, you get 3 models for Endless Swarm from Assimilation Swarm. There's some good healing potential here. And we have a squad of 3 Zoanthropes for a little extra shooting and to give those Termagants and any infantry in the area a 6-up invulnerable. So there's a lot of layered buffs here just to kind of keep that 20 block of Termagants alive and to afford Feel No Pains and invulnerables to things within 6. It's pretty interesting. It's very diverse. It's different. And I think that's the cool thing about Assimilation Swarm right now is there is really no meta with Assimilation Swarm right now. I mean, you can have really good players take basically whatever and do well with it. I think Assimilation is just positioned well right now in that not a lot of people play it. There's not a whole lot of counterplay to it. If you want to stack up and do a lot of Tyrant Guard and Zoanthropes, kind of like Matt Evans did with his Assimilation list, you can. If you want to lean towards more Monster Mash, it's a little bit harder just because the meta is tuned towards Space Marines getting +1 to wound on larger things. So it's probably better to run MSU, and I think that's what Michael Del Toro is going for here in his list, just a lot more smaller point models and units as opposed to having a Norn Assimilator in the list, which is 275. But I personally enjoyed running him, and I think this list looks really interesting. So this also allows you to run some models that you normally wouldn't see in a whole lot of lists other than, a Turvagon we see Sam Pope bring in in Invasion Fleet as part of his sort of care package, as well as that Assimilator. Otherwise, I just want to keep this quick and dirty. Let's go ahead and roll into the second list here. The second list we have here is the final version of the assimilation list that I took to my GT 2 weeks ago. I decided that I wanted to go with a little bit more of a monster mash style because I like Crusher Stampede and I liked the idea of healing my monsters instead of getting some specific hit and wound bonuses from them being wounded. So I did settle on 6 Harvesters. I have 3 Rippers, 1 Assimilator, and 2 Harvespexes. It gives me quite a few things that can die and potentially give units +1 to wound, specifically the Rippers, or I can put certain units on objectives and feel no pain them. Again, I think Assimilation lends itself to being a better defensive archetype if you have denser terrain, not necessarily open maps with a lot of shooting lanes. But just in case, I did throw in 3 Exocrines and a Rupture Effects in there just to give a little extra quality shooting. They also can circle around the walking Hive Tyrant here for a 6-inch aura of Lethals and Assault. I also gave him a 10-point enhancement for Biophagic Flow so that if he is within 12 inches of any Harvester, it makes their heal range 9 inches instead of 6. Otherwise, I just have a Broodlord with Instinctive Defense, similar to the first list that I reviewed, with a squad of 10 Gene Stealers. I have 10 Gargoyles, just 1 battle line. Gargoyles I've really missed. I think they're really valuable in using for screening or for stealing an objective on a turn that you need to flip 1 primary. I also have 3 Lictors. I enjoyed having 3 Lictors here because if there was an instance that I got Air Denial on the first or second turn and I had to throw a Lictor away to get those 5 points, I still had 2 potentially to get me Containment, Recover Assets, and Sabotage, all the other secondaries that I would need. Rippers are OC0, so they can no longer do actions. They're there specifically for healing, being a nuisance, road blocking, and to proc that +1 to wound stratagem if they die. Have a Biovore in the list as always. We know why he's here. We have the Assimilator here. The Assimilator is here to declare a singular purpose objective. Stand there for a 5 Feel No Pain. If he ends up taking some damage, you can 4 Feel No Pain him and subsidize the cost of the 2 CP stratagem with the Walker within 12 to make it a 1 command point stratagem. The Harvespexes are there to be kind of beat sticks, potentially also tough things to go towards primary objectives and stand on. They have a good number of quality attacks. So they can defend themselves against light targets, but any heavy shooting or heavy melee that comes to them concertedly is probably going to kill them. The Exocrines and the Rupture Effects are there just to provide some backup support and shooting to try to keep those Harvesters alive, specifically the Harvespexes and the Assimilator. The Walker-in is a synergy piece, and the Broodlord and the Gene Stealers are usually supposed to scout up into a terrain piece, hide within 6 of potentially a Harvespex or an Assimilator, and if any melee threat comes towards them, you have a free Heroic Intervention and a fight first as long as you're within 6 inches of a Harvester. I really liked the synergy of this list. I think the terrain that I played on didn't lend itself super well to what I was playing on, but beside the point, I do think I'm going to pull this list out to play a couple more times here in the next couple months before we see any changes here in April. Hopefully this gives you some ideas of what you can throw into an assimilation list, or gets the creative juices flowing if you want to build a list from the ground up using some of the units and archetypes that I've explained here. I hope you learned something new today, and I'll catch you next time on Hive Prometheus.